Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 28th. It's December. It's 2025. And we're almost to the new year. I'm just kidding. We're almost to what Americans call the new year. The new year is actually April 1st, which is why the elites call it April Fool's Day. God would not start the new year on the earth that he created at the worst time of the year. When it's cold, there's nothing new about it. You know what I'm saying? But on that, I will digress. There are a lot of rumors going around right now, and I'm holding off answering any of them until I get more proof about banks getting really wacky. Things are starting to look ugly. And I'm going to cover some of these things that you can show your friends so they can understand that when what's coming happens, it wasn't by accident. These guys have been planning what they're going to do and been telling us what they're going to do the entire time. Like The Economist covers, for instance. Let's start there. So right off the bat, I just posted this video on Jailbreak Overlander. The links will be below. These are things you need to start focusing on. Whether you have money, ability, or anything, just knowing certain things to do when the power goes out, when all hell breaks loose, when the banks shut down, when the gas stations are gone, etc., so forth and so on. At least you'll have a clue of what to do. Do you see what I'm saying? Knowledge is power. It's kind of ironic that I said knowledge is power in the videos to do is what to do when the power fails. That's funny. At any rate, every year the elites release their plans in the form of the cover of The Economist magazine. And this year, for some reason, they released two covers. And it just dawned on me last night what this second cover means. After putting up that video where we literally are seeing things that look exactly like Lovecraftian demonic entities flying through the sky, it says the world ahead, 2026, will shape the next decade. And they're showing two worlds. And I believe the two world means our physical reality and the spiritual reality in 2026 will merge. You really need to think about that because that's a serious statement. Here's the breakdown that I did of the 2026 Economist cover, the colorful one. I want to go back to 2017 where Donald Trump was sitting on top of a throne made of the United States flag, holding a scepter and another element in his hand. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but he was basically the king of the world. Do you see what I'm saying? I did a breakdown on this in 2017. I'm not going back to it right now because it's late. I'm bleeding and I have to take a shower. But take note right next to him. The entire world is completely connected one way or the other. Nothing new under the sun. But on the new Economist cover, or what we think is the Economist cover, or what they're presenting is this. Okay, so one of the things I pointed out was a Viking ship. Well, it's not a Viking ship. It's actually Greek. It has Greek adornments on the sail. What they are holding was what's called Greek fire. It was like napalm. These guys were so far ahead of their time, it was crazy. But it was like napalm, and they would set the enemy's ships on fire with it. To this day, they can't figure out what it was made of, so I guess that is the meaning. They're going to go on a big burning spree. Now, that answer right there came from one of my subscribers called Jesus Saves, so I appreciate that. Because again, at first glance, it looked like a Viking ship. And Greek fire is literally something that was way ahead of its time, technologically speaking. Nobody had anything like that. So the Greeks were kicking ass and taking names. But the more I look at it, them using Greek fire, something almost nobody knows about, I am familiar with it just from history, is them using technology that nobody else has to vanquish their enemies. This was basically what Greek fire looked like back in the old days. And like I said, it was secret technology nobody else knew how they made, and they're unleashing it on others. So that's basically the elites telling us they're going to use secret technology no one's ever seen before, and they're going to unleash it on us. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that Make sense? Boom, bitches. Also, I had originally said that it looked like a hot air balloon and somebody was cutting the strings, but 4 minutes after I uploaded the video, I posted it and said, it's a soccer ball being kicked. And soccer balls are 3D objects, so they don't have sides in the traditional sense. However, their surfaces are made up of panels, which are usually hexagonal or pentagonal in shape. A traditional soccer ball has 32 panels made up of 20 hexagons and 12 pentagons. But a soccer ball is a 3D object. Okay, so that's crazy because that could be alluding to holographic imagery in the sky, Atlas 3I, things of that nature, because they are showing Jeff Bezos' penis-shaped spacecraft that can or can't go into low Earth orbit. They're showing what appears to be an ICBM missile. They're showing people uprising in the United States being arrested to celebrate the 250th birthday. It's tied together. Do you see what I'm saying? And then red tanks pointing straight up. I don't understand what that means, but the robots. The robots are absolutely everywhere in this. All different types of robots taking over your jobs, working in your house, because that looks like Rosie the robot. That appears to be... That can't be Netanyahu. It looks just like George Soros, doesn't it? And it shows Lincoln on the penny underneath the market crashing. You see the market crashing? This is the AI bubble they're creating right now. They're getting everybody and their sister to literally invest in AI, but they're not giving the AI to us. They're simply using the AI bubble to siphon all the money out of our lives in every which way they possibly can. They're taking all the resources and they're going to get ready to go in their underground bunkers. But 2026... the stock market, it's over. The stock market is a scam right now. The entire thing is a huge scam. Satellite dishes, people at war. There's war guys over here. There's vaccines. There's robotic dogs. These are war-fighting dogs. The dollar crumbles. You see it? The dollar crumbles. Another robot with a machine gun on top. Glasses of wine spilling. I don't know what that means. And then robots absolutely every place. Robotic dogs. And then, of course, drones, lasers using directed energy weapons, satellites using directed energy weapons, satellite using directed energy weapons, rockets coming off of the ship. Everybody is being entertained to death, or they're being neural laced, one of the two. But I mean, look at this. Look at all the different variations of machine guns on robots. Machine guns on robots. 1, 2. You've got the robot dogs all over the place. The red and blue fighting. The red and blue fighting. Some people thought that this was Tylenol. I'm seeing it for what it is.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The red pill or the blue pill. The red and the blue fighting right there. And 99 red balloons. That's not a good sign right there. Rockets going up. Vaccines. Whatever this is, it isn't good, and The Economist hasn't offered us anything else. When I'm done with my vehicle completely, when I'm completely 100% done, truck's coming off the trailer tomorrow, I put the axles in, I filled her back up, she's good as new. That rear end failing, I didn't build the rear end, I bought it custom made. It failed in March, and then it failed again. Now it's completely brand new. It can't fail again, period. So once I get my truck squared away and I know what I'm doing, because this has been an almost 2-week odyssey here, that I'm living in a shop, it's crazy. I'll get into it more, but I'm sure others have already done breakdowns because we were waiting for today for the actual new cover and they're not offering us anything. So if you see anything else, send it. But all I'm seeing is war, the dollar completely falling out because it has to. It has to. Everyone thinks AI has failed. It hasn't failed. It's doing its exact job. It's controlling everything. We're getting the stupid AI that's just dumb. And they're jacking up the stock market so much that it is going to implode. And we're going to get taken out for it. And the result is going to be the dollar is going to be destroyed right here. And it looks like all hell's going to break loose. And just like we've always said, it will be robots. How many robots do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 robots, 5 robots, 5 robots, not counting the robot dogs, of which there is a good half dozen of them, satellites shooting directed energy weapons, drones everywhere, and nothing but war. I mean, are you seeing this? This isn't good. This isn't uplifting in any way whatsoever at all. If you got anything else, rjcjr10@yahoo.com. But I want you to see this, okay? Because this is crazy. Okay, so I looked more into the spilling wines thing because it could mean something because it's showing wine spilling all over the world that they're presenting. That could be an enormous indicator of earthquakes, something that HAARP does. HAARP creates earthquakes. It could be that, or there's age-old beliefs that spilling a wine is an indicator of good or bad luck. And it still remains prevalent in many cultures. Some argue that spilling wine signifies future achievements, while others view it as a sign of impending mishaps. According to superstition dating back to ancient Greece, spilling wine on the floor represents a sacrificial offering to the gods. This act is believed to bring good fortune and blessings from the divine realm. On the other hand, some cultures perceive wine spillage as a warning of misfortunes to come. For instance, spilling red wine on yourself or others is believed to be a sign of impending trouble or even danger. So yeah, maybe that's why it's all over this map. I don't know. So before I go any further, if you have a 401k or an IRA, get it out of the bank and turn it into something you can hold, okay? Because they're going to crash the economy. The AI bubble is going to make every crash we've ever had pale in comparison. And if you don't get your money out, you're never going to see it. So why be stupid? Get your money out, turn it into gold and silver, and your money will double and quadruple. Will you be able to use it? I don't know. Is it better to be prepared and not need it than need it and not be prepared? Well, you already know the answer to that. So do it or don't. Because last call for alcohol is coming up quick. The world in 2026 is just a little over a month away. Can you believe that? Get your money out of the bank, tell them I sent you, and they will hook it up. Do not get the gold IRA because that will simply be ones and zeros, again, locked up someplace. You want it with you. Or don't. So right now there's rumors all over the internet by certain news outlets that are saying that Wells Fargo Bank defaulted last night at 2 a.m. Well, I talked to Dave Morgan from the Morgan Report and ran it all by him, and he said there is no way to verify that, so be careful with that. But I'm telling you, 2026, like the cover says, will shape the entire decade afterwards. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means get your money out of the bank and turn it into something. So you at least have something, because they're going to steal your bank accounts completely. And I keep getting emails that are saying, Richie, what if they confiscate? Well, to me, confiscating your gold and silver is exactly like mandating you to stay in your house or to get a vaccine. It's completely your call whether you're going to do it or not. If it's mine, it's mine. You know what I'm saying? When they confiscated gold back in the old days, they at least had kind of a, war, we got war, it's bad, nobody likes war. Well, now these guys are just stealing and lying, and I mean, this entire video is about. So if they try to take what's yours, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? At any rate. So let's deal with one social issue that suddenly dominated everything. The workplace, schools, the news, movies, music, everything. To the point where if you accidentally called somebody with a mental disorder that was a man who was pretending to be a woman, if you called that man a man, you could get in trouble because what you saw with your eyes as a sane, grown person, you saw a man dressing up as a woman, you thought to yourself, oh, that poor mentally disabled guy, or you thought, that's disgusting. Well, they tried to push it to the point where we had to refer to them with the proper pronoun, or you could face jail time, or worse, you could be canceled from the internet, which happened to a lot of people. But here's the fun thing. That didn't used to exist. And if people had listened to us years ago, they would have heard it, because this is how that happened. This is why there are so many people that are or believe they are the opposite sex. Must be something in the water, right?
Now, there it is, the gay bomb. Look it up for yourself. I mean, this is what do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I'm like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Well, that was your friend, my friend, everybody's friend, Alex Jones, whose father worked for the Central Intelligence Agency. And we know that because people have done the research. And then Alex just straight up told us. It's not a big secret. If you have two brain cells that you can rub together, you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Alex Jones was given information before we found the information so that he could make it look ridiculous. But the funny part about that is there's a chemical called atrazine that Monsanto created. And Monsanto hired a scientist to study it to make sure certain side effects weren't going to be a problem. Well, it turns out the side effects were a massive problem, and the scientist that they hired told them that he was literally proving in a scientific fashion, observe, repeat, observe. Do you know what I'm saying? Science. He was discovering that animals were changing their sex, not gender. Gender is a made-up word, didn't exist when I was a kid. Changing their sex from male to female, and they could literally produce eggs. That's a problem, and it's called atrazine, and if you're eating or drinking anything today, you're imbibing it. But either you have a strong enough constitution or a strong enough will through God that it hasn't affected you. But here's the deal.
With Juan Gonzalez, we've been with you for 18 years as we turn to another story.
Yes, now we turn to the story of a University of California scientist who discovered that a popular herbicide may have harmful effects on the endocrine system. Tyrone Hayes was first hired in 1997 by a company that later became agribusiness giant Syngenta. They asked him to study their product, atrazine, a pesticide that is applied to more than half the corn crops in the United States and widely used on golf courses and Christmas tree farms. But after Hayes found results that the manufacturer did not expect, that atrazine causes sexual abnormalities in frogs and could cause the same problems for humans, Syngenta refused to allow him to publish his work. This was the start of an epic feud between the scientist and the corporation.
Now a new article in the New Yorker magazine uses court documents from a class action lawsuit against Syngenta to show how it sought to prevent the Environmental Protection Agency from banning the profitable chemical, which is already banned by the European Union. To start with, the company's public relations team drafted a list of 4 goals. Reporter Rachel Aviv writes, quote, the first was, quote, discredit Hayes. In a spiral-bound notebook, Syngenta's communications manager, Sherry Ford, who referred to Hayes by his initials, wrote that the company could prevent citing of TH data by revealing him as non-credible. He was a frequent topic of conversation at company meetings. Syngenta looked for ways to exploit Hayes' faults, problems. If TH involved in scandal, Enviros will drop him, Ford wrote.
My bad, it wasn't Monsanto. They're the ones giving everybody cancer, and you can't sue them with their Roundup product that everyone's spraying everywhere, killing the bees, killing the dandelions, and helping Satan kill the earth. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. As soon as you're given life, you should right away start destroying creation to the best of your ability, all you possibly can. I'm joking, of course. but it was Syngenta, not Monsanto. My bad. And here's the other side of this. Television, politicians, the news, music, influencers, everybody, school teachers, preschool teachers were teaching children that they probably were gay and just didn't know it, to the point where they were helping them change their sex, not gender, made up word, without their parents' consent. This is what spawned it. You know what I mean? There's a reason other countries completely ban this, but the United States, hell no. Give it to them, and we're seeing the results. And here's the other side of that coin. When I was a kid, piercing your ear or getting a tattoo was something rebellious. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. But now, people have been marrying cars, marrying walls, marrying animals. You know, it's the bar is so high that if you're overweight, unattractive, unpopular, unclean, etc., you can simply become gay, and now you're special. And nobody can say anything about you, or you can post it on social media. It was a great weapon. It really was. But it was not organic in any way whatsoever at all. Do you remember? I mean, way back in 97, we were warning you about this. It wasn't 97, 2007. My bad. I'm old. It happens. At any rate, let's move on to the next topic, shall we? So the next fantastic thing that politicians, elected officials, authorities, experts did for us was start genetically modifying food. And I started ringing this bell back in 2014, and sadly, the alternate channel I go to, the, what's it called? Alt-C censored channel that I go to find my old videos doesn't go back that far. So I'm going to talk about GMO foods and how they completely hid them every place, and how myself and hundreds of other YouTubers were trying to warn you about GMOs. And now they're making fake food and not even telling you whatsoever at all. But we tried to warn you. But when you combine things like atrazine to loosen up your gender and genetically modified foods, things start making a lot more sense. And these are all things that they have been doing step by step, inch by inch, to turn us into a bunch of people that won't do anything other than maybe make videos, maybe leave a comment, or maybe post memes. You know what I'm saying? And they're watching this. They know this. They know that Charlie Kirk's, that entire thing, he was like a Superman. That's how he stopped a 308. A 308 would come through your neck, out the other side, through the wall. You know, the whole thing is just complete and utter nonsense, but it was a hell of a thing to keep everybody focused away from the Epstein files till they brought the Epstein files out again, which no one's ever going to find out. It's all just meaningless, busy work, while some of us try to stick to what's important, because the busy work is keeping you distracted for something more important. And I like to say that I did a pretty good job staying away from Epstein and Kirk. Myself and others were talking about Epstein before anyone even knew what we were talking about whatsoever at all. But on that, I'll digress. Let's go back to 2017.
Does anybody remember this Monsanto Protection Act? Section 735 that was slipped into a bill signed by Obama. One of the many, many, many laws and executive orders Obama signed to help destroy America. Well, this one right here, even though it's been debunked by Snopes, which should be your litmus test proving it's real, basically protects Monsanto from being sued by anybody. These guys do this stuff all the time. They've made it so that if something happens due to vaccinations or genetically modified food or anything to that effect, nobody's held liable. It's absolutely unbelievable, and literally things like this make regular Americans think all is well, when in fact it isn't. Snopes' job is to debunk things that we say, even though Snopes is run by people that are worse than most people you actually know. Once you see it on Snopes, in my opinion, that should guarantee to you it's completely and totally real. And speaking of Monsanto and genetically modified things, this is their latest little trick they're playing. They're no longer going to call things genetically modified. They're changing it to bioengineered. And the USDA publishes the labeling rules. So Since GMOs have taken on a pejorative frankenfood connotation, the USDA wanted to fix that, and did it ever.
Now, bear in mind, this was signed by Donald Trump, right here. That's Trump. Trump is one of them. He might be one of the original ones of them, to be completely honest. You know what I'm saying? MAGA means magician in every language on earth.
Instead of calling them GMOs, it's substituted with the word bioengineered. Here's the little logos right here so you can enjoy those. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that great? Look at the curvature of the earth, and there's a star falling and a little bit of sun right there. Beautiful. It's amazing to me how much our government gives to these people that are destroying the water, the food, the air, the entire country. And it's amazing because we have the black laws in the United States. No, not these. Well, here they're calling it the Dark Act. Maybe I had it wrong, but you know what? I'm simply an asshole with a laptop just like you guys, so it is what it is. Obama, once again, signed bills into laws, even though there was 250,000 petitioners against it, where it's basically none of your business. It's none of your business if your food or the food you're feeding your children or infant or toddlers or grandparents is genetically modified or bioengineered. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe it's just bioengineered. Look at those happy, friendly stickers. Everything's good. It's been derived from bioengineering.
And since that occurred, everybody everywhere is finding chicken breasts that when they try to cook them turn into some sort of a jelly. Steaks that do the same thing. Or food that's simply bioengineered and you have to scan the food, the little label on the back, so it takes you to a place that explains to you that it's bioengineered, which means genetically modified. When they genetically modified the first salmon, I was ringing bells left and right, and apparently nobody heard them. But now people are seeing the consequences.
If you look on the back of most products that contain wheat or soy, you're going to see something that says contains bioengineered food ingredients. Now, most products have a bunch of ingredients in them, so they won't tell you which ones are bioengineered, and they won't tell you how they bioengineered them. Did they bioengineer them to increase the yield? Did they bioengineer them to enhance the taste? They don't tell you. These ingredients are garbage anyways. I wouldn't eat this. Next time you're shopping, look at the back of a product and check if it says that on there. If you look,
here is the infamous 3D printed steak and everything you need to know about it. Who is this cardboard smelling steak for? Apparently it's for vegan, vegetarians, and even meat lovers too. No Diddy, and I'm gonna apologize for what I said in the last clip. Feels like meat in the mouth. I didn't mean anything by it. How much did this cost? This cost me £8, or for the Americans, $10.50. And I got it from Ocado. No, I wasn't paid to promote this, and yes, I put my life at risk for this. How long does this take to cook? Did I season it? Yes, look, I put some olive oil, salt, some garlic. Oh, I've got a question for you guys. Am I vegan? I only eat animals that eat vegetables. So what does that make me? All right, while I put this to cook, let's read the ingredients. So this has 10 ingredients. It is water, plant protein, which is wheat and soy and potato, soy flour, wheat flour, refined rapeseed oil, cornstarch. Why is my cooking making this look good? Maltodextrin, barley malt, salt, and colors. Just like your comments, the vegan steak is now cooked. Here is the infamous 3D printed steak and everything you need to know about it. Who is...
So when Bill Gates tried to, no pun intended, force this down everybody's throat, people were like, F you, Bill Gates, you're a piece of, you know what? There's a reason your wife or husband dropped you like a bad habit and nobody talks about it ever at all for any reason, period. There's a reason a guy that made computers that weren't really all that good because Apple came along and blew him away, suddenly decided he was a health expert and everyone's like, cool, he's rich enough, let him do that. Plus, his family started Planned Parenthood way back in the old days. So his family's been aborting children that were born with the miracle of life given to you by God. And Bill Gates has been eradicating them, which puts him really high up on the list with Satan. You know what I mean? Bill Gates and Satan, they're rolling together. So he thinks. At any rate, they've got influencers pushing this. But if you go to apparently TikTok, which I do not go to, you can find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are finding out the steak that they bought isn't steak at all. It's not labeled, it's not mentioned, it's not anything. And here's the fun part. You're eating nothing but chemicals. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And why is a fake steak $10.50? You know what I mean? $10.50 for a make-believe steak? That's amazing. but that's where we're going. That's not where we're going. That's where we're at right now. You know what I'm saying? So far, they've tried to turn you gay, and if that didn't work, they tried to turn you vegan with poison, because you're not vegan at all. You're eating simply made-up things because you don't even know what those ingredients that they're claiming they're using for 3D printed are, because they can just lie, because no one's going to stop them. You see what I'm saying? Now, this one's pretty much affected everybody that's watching this video. This has affected me since the day I was born, literally. War. The elites love using war because it does several things. It makes them wealthy. It puts the country in a tremendous amount of debt. And it kills off most of the able-bodied physical specimens of the American population. It's a win-win-win. You see what I mean? And when I say it's affected me since the day I was born at Fort Belvoir, a military base. My father never actually saw me until I was already walking. Do you know what that does? Imagine imagine you're married, your wife gets a puppy, but you're not around to raise it till it's already 2 years old. You don't necessarily love that puppy as much as you would if you raised it yourself, you helped it learn to walk, talk, etc. Most puppies don't talk, but some do. Some do. I'm telling you, at any rate. My father was in Vietnam. Many people's fathers were in Vietnam. My grandfathers were both in World War II. My entire life has been nothing but war. You know what I'm saying? And when they pulled off 9/11, September 11th, 2001, when that activity occurred, it gave them we were attacked. This is the story. We were attacked by a bunch of guys that hijacked a bunch of planes. None of them could fly them, and they were all from Saudi Arabia. So we first went to Afghanistan because a bunch of guys from Saudi Arabia attacked us so quickly, to Afghanistan. And then we went to Iraq. And now we're literally funding the genocide of all the Palestinian or Semitic people for Israel, because without your tax dollars, Israel couldn't do this. So they just keep cranking it out. And these guys all have friends that own things like Halliburton, Boeing, all the war-making places. And they either get money from lobbyists or they have stocks or etc. It's all a big club. And we are in that club, but we're way down the bottom. They're way up the top. They never go to war. They just start them. They're killing off other human beings for whatever reason they come up with at any time. Donald Trump just bombed Africa because, you know what I mean? Those Africans and what they do. So good thing we got that done. If you're in Africa, it's the people running the world are bombing you. It's not just America, okay? Because every president of every country on earth, except for the guy that said this papaya tested positive for COVID, that dude was a good dude. All the rest of them are in the same club. It is the New World Order. So understand that. But war is what's really brought America to her knees, because it justifies everything. It justifies raising prices. We invade Iraq. We take over the second largest producer of oil on earth, and our gas prices quadruple. And Americans are like, fuck yeah. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that sentiment? Are you sure you want to stick with that? We own the second largest producer of oil in the world. So gas should be free. You know what I mean? Gas should be free. But instead, it quadruples, and Americans are like, yup, that'll show those sand people. Yeah, war. It's what's for breakfast. And it's bioengineered, so you can't go wrong. But let's go on to the next thing, because I got a list. Back in the old days, America used to have jobs, industry. We made things until some scumbags decided to deregulate things and start sending businesses that you, your family, generations had worked at to other countries so they could make it in another country and then ship it back to us to sell to us things that we could have made for ourselves, where it would be win-win, build the country up, make the country stronger. But they didn't want to do that. Instead, they just wanted to treat the entire country like a bank and rob it. Strip everything away, send it all away. They profit on both sides of it between the lobbyists and whatever country's receiving the newly outsourced jobs. Like lumber, for instance. We send lumber from the Pacific Northwest to China so that they can turn it into 2x4s and send it back to us through Home Depot. How is that even cheaper? It makes no sense whatsoever at all. But they don't care. And if you look around, you'll notice there isn't very much left in the United States whatsoever at all. They closed all the military bases after we were attacked on 9/11. Doesn't that make sense? We were attacked. We were completely unprepared. Every single solitary thing the military should have done to prevent this from turning into what it turned into, they failed at. So we better shut down the military bases. That'll show them. And then put cameras up everywhere and watch our citizens. Because we don't know. They could take down the Twin Towers again too, like we did. I mean, like those guys from Saudi Arabia did. They get confused after a while. You know, sometimes they slip up. But it's just crazy. They're sending all this stuff out. And the biggest lie that's come down the pike as of 2025, remember when Donald Trump ran on all those different things? He's going to lower food prices. He's going to go to Fort Knox and count the gold himself. He's going to find out what those drones that were literally harassing the entire eastern seaboard of the United States of America for 2 months. He's going to tell us what those are, and gosh darn it, he's going to open up those Epstein files. Yeah.
So my first day back from having a nice life, it's my honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America.
Yeah, you remember this, right? Before you voted for Trump, he was telling you things like, I'm going to lower grocery prices. I'm going to bring industry back to America. I'm going to find out how much gold, the entire wealth of the country, which is partially yours, is in Fort Knox. And I'm going to find out who's been harassing American citizens for months unanswered with drones. And we were all like, dude, we don't care about any of that. What we need is data centers. We need data centers so bad. We need them in the middle of our communities, or just wipe our community away with some sort of a weather event. Put a data center there, and any of the people that are left, well, they can help subsidize the data centers with their electricity bill, their water bill. And the beauty of it is they probably won't even have electricity, even though the price went up. And chances are 99% the water that their bill went up since the data centers were dropped in the middle of their communities after a crazy weather event is poison. That's what people wanted. And Trump heard you. He heard you, America, out of his ear, not the one that got shot and then miraculously healed 1 week later and was never spoken of again, ever at all. He heard you, and that's what he's doing, because data centers make America strong. It'll bring in jobs. It'll bring in 12 jobs for security guards, because a data center is a ginormous building full of computer servers that don't need people there. They're all, you knew it, outsourced. Yeah, and the beauty is the richest people on earth need you to pay the bill for these things, and when they're up and running, for whatever reason, you'll continue to pay, or we'll force you out of the area one way or the other, because that's what we do. Because the biggest, best thing, I got to make this a little short, maybe I'll do a part 2. The biggest, best thing we've ever come up with, that's ever happened that we found out about, was climate change. Climate change has really helped shape not only America, the entire world. Climate change, we found out, has caused the sea levels to rise exponentially. It's amazing. I mean, if you happen to live across the street from the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific, and you've lived 50, 60, 70 years, you didn't see it rise, but it has. That's what's so sneaky about climate change. The ocean levels rise, but not when you're looking or measuring for a century, like this. So many moons ago, a subscriber of mine named Daniel Fitzhenry, and he's a hydrographic surveyor, and so wasn't his father. His family has been in the business of measuring the sea level for 100 years in Denison, Sydney, Australia. In 1914, the ocean level was at 1.11 meters. And as you can see, it goes on and goes on and goes on, and it seems to be dropping. And then it comes back up again in 2014. But then in 2019, it ends up lower than it was before. And I've shown you this entire video right here. I can't find the original audio to it. But these guys have been, this is their job. This is their job through the government before Australia completely became the New World Order test ground. Their job was to measure the ocean. That's their job. That's all they do. They're experts in it. He's a captain. His father was a captain. And he was like, dude, we're on the other side of the world here, and the ocean's not rising. And I said to him, that's queer. I said that. And he wasn't offended. I said, that's highly suspicious or unusual because I'm 58 years old, and I grew up in Lynn, Massachusetts. We live on the Atlantic Ocean. Seriously, I can literally throw a pineapple grenade from my front porch, if I was so inclined and had one, into the Atlantic Ocean. That's how close I live. And in almost 60 years, that ocean hasn't risen 1 millimeter. Because if ocean rise or climate change was a real concern, we wouldn't live there anymore. Because literally, open the door, you can see the ocean. Do the dishes, that's doing the dishes. In the kitchen window, I'm looking at Boston Harbor. You see what I'm saying? I'm surrounded by the ocean. Yeah, it's all a lie. What they tell people, and they tell the story consistently, they just won't shut up, is that climate change is what's causing all this unbelievably crazy weather. When in fact, it turns out that's not the case whatsoever at all. There's a thing called geoengineering. You might have heard about it, especially on this channel, because I've been doing this 16 years. And I started my videos standing on the Atlantic Ocean, pointing a flip phone at the sky, because Boston Harbor, I can also see Logan Airport and General Electric, where they do the helicopters, the test jet engines, and all that stuff. I don't know why it just got dark in here, but whatever. I've been around planes my entire life. In the first 10 years of my life, I had really bad parents. I kind of still do. My mother died, but, I forgave her. Whatever. I spent the first 10, 12 years of my life locked in a room. No brothers, no sisters. All I had was Mark Twain, animal encyclopedias, and literature. And I read it all because I had nothing else to do. But I looked out the window and I watched the planes taking off all the time. And when I was a kid, airplanes weren't spraying long, disgusting lines behind them, blocking out the sun, making large X's, large squares, large vectors, and then eventually creating some sort of a blanket. And 16 years ago, my first video, I said, hey, is anybody else noticing this? And I literally explained what I was seeing, and I was literally explaining geoengineering before these guys came clean and said, well, we could spray the sky and block out the sun to save us all from climate change. But the weird thing is 16 years ago in that video where I wasn't a truther, I wasn't Richie from Boston. Well, I was Richie from Boston, but whatever. I said, I bet if people ever figure out what these guys are doing, they're just going to blame it on the climate. And surely enough, they did. But better than just blocking out the sun and making it cloudy, they're spraying heavy metal into the atmosphere, which allows them to use frequencies from Doppler and NEXRAD radar stations to mess with the weather all the time. And they can direct the weather, and they have. And speaking of those data centers, every place they wanted a data center, right before the data center was built, there was a weather event that caused everyone to have to leave the area. And that will continue. At any rate, this video is much too long. I'll try to wrap up part 2 of this tomorrow because there's still, let me see. Farmers forced out of business, forced vaccines. I did that one. I did that one. Okay, I got a couple of these things done. Paying Israel to eradicate entire people. Yeah, this is what we got to get to because we are so jaded these days. We are so jaded that the fact that people flying in airplanes at 30,000 plus feet are filming crazy monsters in the sky that line up exactly to OpenAI's logo, which is Cthulhu, and line up exactly with the drawings that H.P. Lovecraft drew of these monsters, or the great old ones, which is exactly what Geordie Rose, the guy that helped create D-Wave, the quantum computer, said that they were summoning. You see how this all comes around? But we're so jaded. The fact that these monsters are up there flying around to the point where people on planes can literally get them on video, and we're already worrying about the next thing. We're amusing ourselves to death. At any rate, Richie from Boston. I'll wrap this tomorrow because it's already 5:30. It's just dropped 50 degrees in 2 hours. 50 degrees in 2 hours because that's nature. It's natural. It's nature. I got to try to upload this before I can't. So I'll wrap this tomorrow and treat every day like it's your last. One of these days you're going to be right. Richie from Boston, and I'm out.
Is possibly the clearest image of these black flying things we have ever seen. These black flying things we have been seeing in the sky since the April 8th solar eclipse. And this individual, UAP Luigi, says, I was taking my flight from Munich to Hamburg this morning at 7 a.m. and saw 2 objects which I thought were black birds in the beginning, but then they were moving in a strange way. Then I did these pictures and was shocked. The stewardess was shocked as well and brought me to the captain, which was also confused. Can anybody explain this? This is so scary. And yes, this is what we have been seeing with them. They do move in a very strange way, but look at it. I can't really explain it. And I really feel like those octopus kites were designed after these things to give an excuse. The only really thing you can say they look like outside of those octopus kites are what we are shown in movies like Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, what's another one? Harry Potter, The Dementors. And they even look like those black things in that movie Ghost that took the bad people away. But what's eerie is that this person saw them too. They commented on this post with their photos, this individual Andrew Porter, and he goes on to say, saw this object changing shapes, moving and stopping out the window on my flight out of Norfolk, Virginia to Minneapolis. Look at this one. It looks like it has arms stretching out, and this is what reminds me of those black spirits from that movie Ghost. Somebody had linked this article that goes back to February 22nd, 2024. It says mysterious alien object seen flying in Central California, and this was actually shown on the news. But what I find interesting is what they say right here. Observers have been quick to draw comparisons to the tentacle-like appendages seen in science fiction films like Arrival and War of the Worlds. Why I find that to be interesting, on one of my most recent videos on Seconds of Horror, I said just that. I used Arrival as an example when it came to Steven Spielberg's movie. This is what I said. I want to go ahead and talk about as well. It has to do with Steven Spielberg's latest movie called Disclosure Day. A few days ago, the trailer came out, and supposedly it has to do about aliens and UFOs. Now, it would seem like birds play an important role in this movie. In a couple scenes, we're shown birds, but also in the poster, we're shown a bird and the one-eyed symbolism inside a bird. One of the main characters becomes possessed, and she starts to make this noise, which many people believe may be the sound of the alien.
Let's today is today's
And I find it very odd because, and it really goes to show who's giving these people these scripts, because there was another movie back in 2016 called Arrival, and it had to do about quote-unquote aliens. But the noise the woman is making in Steven Spielberg's movie sounds very similar to the noise that these aliens in this movie are making, a clicking sound. What's also even more interesting is that the bird also played an important role in this movie as well, because it was used to test atmospheric conditions, but also the sensitivity of language between nature and the alien communication, and it was also used as a foreshadow. What I also found interesting about the movie Arrival is that from time to time we would always see these black rings, these black smoke rings popping up in certain locations, and they would be on the news. And the thing is, they would try to say, oh, that's just exhaust from a truck or a transformer had blown. They would never show or track the source. It was always just a theory. But if it was just that, why would they always show it on the news? And these black rings are very similar. Matter of fact, they look exactly like these black rings that are shown in the movie. And these black rings are the communication used by these quote-unquote aliens. So again, it's very telling where these directors are getting this information from, because this is just way too similar. And yes, what was shown by Steven Spielberg was just a trailer, but even so, just looking at the trailer by itself and then going back to the movie The Arrival, you would think that trailer was for the sequel to the movie The Arrival. This is just more conditioning people about aliens, getting people used to the idea of aliens, they exist, their arrival. Perhaps even getting people used to the idea that people that are among us, like I said in my other video, 1 billion plus people are not even real people. They're probably something else altogether. Think reptiles and things like that. And talking about Project Bluebeam, these are the things also we will be seeing during Project Bluebeam. What's going to kick everything off by 2030, this whole one world agenda. These creatures, they are not fake. The lie happens to be that they are aliens from another planet, planet 33, that's 33,000 light years away. That's the lie. These are things that have always been here, entities. I do want to go ahead and pause right here because this is concept art from the movie Arrival. You can find it on their website. And this eerily reminds me of this photo right here this individual had taken on his plane. Things crossing over from CERN, fallen ones, what they have been creating and working with in these deep underground military bases. These are the things that will be released. I just find it so weird that article references the movie Arrival when referencing these things. And again, it's just so obvious that Hollywood is giving us the truth in plain sight in these movies. And of course, in that video, when I say aliens, I say quote unquote aliens because these are not things coming from another planet. They're either interdimensional crossed over from something CERN had done, or the veil is thinning, or these things have always been here and they're making themselves more known. I don't know, but they are being seen more and more. And it seems like they are being either chased by helicopters or being guided by helicopters lately.
People need to understand this stuff is very real. I've been documenting this for 15 plus years, and all of it is coming to fruition right now. These guys are in the occult. They use sex, magic, which requires children. And they're doing this to appease these demonic things that are being seen all over the sky. I find it ironic that it started showing up on April 8th, right where I am right now, when I came out here to literally film the eclipse. The eclipse that didn't actually have a moon involved. Remember that? Because that really happened. And if you recall, I kept my mouth shut about it until other channels that were just regular astronomers were like, there doesn't seem to be a moon. And then 4 days prior to the eclipse, we discover that NASA claims they have a spacecraft that can cause an eclipse any time of the day. So that'll be helpful during Project Bluebeam. But these monsters are exactly what I was talking about 10 years ago. It's exactly what Jordy Rose was talking about. And apparently it's all the AI guys are talking about. Are you catching on to what's going on? Because you only get so many warnings till it's here. Okay, I'm really out now, but I had to include that because that's important. 2 separate people on 2 separate airplanes the day before Christmas and a few days prior to that, seeing these crazy things in the sky that line up exactly with H.P. Lovecraft's drawings, line up exactly with OpenAI's logo, line up exactly with Jordy Rose told us was going to be coming through or they were summoning. It's important. And I'm noticing my computer is making some sort of a strange noise. I hope it's just the speakers and it doesn't translate to the video, because I ain't doing it again. For now, hopefully, I'm out.